be able to hear you.
I say T minus 75 seconds and counting.
Spread the word and slow watching.
I'll see what T-Mobile. Yeah.
And next looking at in October for.
Who's got the right at?
I got T minus 60 seconds and counting.
Because you said right at 7:30. Yeah, you know what you sound like? Never, I did it. That's what it sounds like. No, we said he was going to go at 7:30. I said that's what he sounds like with me sitting right here. Oh, I heard it.
I can tell you how much hearing aids cost over here. What?
Huh?
T minus 20 seconds.
Atomic clock.
No, you're so fun. We'll call our meeting, St. Mark Borough, with the pledge of allegiance flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation. Roll call. Robert May is here. Michael Fritz is here. Greg Mullen here. Allison Nybach is here. Susan Egger is here. And David Egger is here. Steve Bible is here. Barry Mayer is here. Ty is here, engineer. Dr. Reverend is here. Warren's here. Sheldon Solicitor is here. Derek Roadmaster is here. Everybody's here. Council minutes. Is there a motion to approve our August 11th, 2022 Borough Council minutes? Is there any corrections, clarifications, additions? Can the minutes be accepted as presented?
Question,
Go.
under budget and finance, is there a typographical error about the amount of money received from ARPA?
No,
It was only $300.
that was the dispersal that they had to make from the first tranche for municipalities that did not take money, and they could not get the second amount from the federal government until they dispersed all of it from the first. And so that was our proportionate amount.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Make a motion to accept the minutes from the August meeting as presented.
Second. Motion been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Approval of payment of bills. So before you'll see payment of bills from general fund of a total of $70,445.91. You'll see some liquid fuels where we have a payment of $266 to Telco, and then you also see from the sewer fund a payment of $86,629.36. $83,629.36. Corrected. Is there a motion to pay the bills from the three funds as presented?
So moved.
Second. Motion's been moved and seconded to approve payment of the bill. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed. Motion passed. For you, you have the consolidated monthly treasurer's report. You'll see our funds, the total cash available from general funds equals $534,176.99. You see cash available in our reserve account of $47,298.52. You see cash available in the fire tax fund of $8,724.49. Total cash available in the sewer fund account of $33,219.55. And total cash available in liquid fuel account of $263,714.24.
Motion to approve the consolidated monthly treasury report for August 2022.
Second. Motion's been moved and seconded to approve the treasury report. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. There's no presentation from any members of the public in attendance. If there's any on the website, web presentation, they can email, raise their hand or something like that, and we'll circle back and do that. Same thing for public comment. We don't have any attending here in person. If there's any public comment, we'll review at some point for later time. Consultant report, Borough Engineers report.
Okay, I received a request from Allison to do a running review of Daniel Molnar at 494 Parkview Road.
Review my review.
Basically, what Allison's asking to do is put it on an engineered letterhead stating that.
But you agree with all the comments that previously been submitted to them?
Yeah.
Any additional one?
I haven't gone through it yet, but I know one thing that he's gonna have to address, stormwater.
Right.
So,
Because the amount of disturbance is beyond whatever our de minimis amount.
yeah, well, he's putting up, can do building.
Yeah.
And then he has access from the street to that garage. Well, it's not showing that it's either gonna be stone or paved.
Right.
So that needs to be clear.
Well, it'll do good that he gets an engineer assessment of what needs to be.
He pretty much wasn't showing.
Anything of any knowledgeable. Right.
And we also are required him to go through it. So.
Yeah.
Because of so many zoning issues, it needs to go through land development and various that are required.
And is this the one with the
But
floodplain?
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
gonna be
So,
a
yeah.
review.
So yeah, it sort of makes sense. Awesome.
so the plan that I have is the one that was given to Allison about a year ago, although apparently it's not the right one.
Well, the plan that you have is the one that was submitted in April. And they said they submitted a second plan, and we said, well, we don't have it, and they dropped all the set of plans that were exactly the same as the first set of plans with all the same conditions and no changes, which it's an issue. Couldn't even actually do the zoning review because there was no actual plot plan for the parcel submitted that showed everything.
Because this plan was not submitted as with an application, I'm just pretty much just going to say address Allison's letter. Otherwise, please put the paper, put it there.
Yeah. All right.
The other thing that's on our list is, the Pine Avenue and Funk Street. We were hoping to start that, survey this week. We've done the office work, but we were not able to get out of the field until next week. So, we will be out starting next week to do the survey for the, two properties and follow through with the right of way.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Thank you so much. Solicitors report.
I have several items. The first is that I prepared a relief and indemnification for volunteer activities, located on the back of your packets. It's there for your review and any questions about that. I'd be glad to answer them either tonight or any questions after the meeting or between meetings. Feel free to call me with that. It is really two parts to it. The first is a waiver of any liability, and it's that there is also some kind of risk that's inherent in participating in volunteer activities in an outdoor setting, such as our municipal lands are. It is both a release and a waiver. It has space for signature and also parent guardian signature if any of the volunteers is under the age of 18. And there's also, as I was asked to do, put in a portion limiting the use of motorized vehicles such as motorcycles, four-wheelers, and dirt bikes on the mountain to actively engage in activities and also identifying the borough. Does anyone have any questions right now? I think that would be glad to answer any questions we have about about the release. I'm gonna go on to the next item, and second item is that I attended and participated in an assessment appeal for the Antietam Valley Shopping Center before the Berks County Board of Assessment Appeals.
Can you give them a little more backstory on that?
Sure, so I'll be glad to. Thank you.
So they essentially went to appeal the assessed value of the shopping center. And it was substantially less than what it currently is now, plus much less than what they wanted us to buy the bank portion. Like we could buy the whole property and what they wanted to assess that
Yeah.
for what they were asking for just the bank.
Right.
So I suggested maybe Jones would attend that assessment hearing to make that back available to the assessment.
Right, and you would authorize me in like.
Right, the last meeting.
The school district was also present. They had their appraiser there, Doug Perry, and they were participating by phone. And they were also represented. The shopping center had their attorney and an appraiser, and was Michael Carr and Yona of Mid-Atlantic Valuation Group. To give you some more specifics on the reason for the appeal was the change in the common level ratio, the equalizing ratio this year changed from this year to last. And it brought the implied fair market value back to the $4.6 million. It had been lowered last year by $507,600. And the change in the common level ratio was not to bring it back up. Some you'll hear discussion back and forth as to whether there should be a countywide reassessment. And because the common level ratio has had to be changed and increased over time because of changes in property value and fair market value. And so the state tax equalization board sets a per county common level ratio and common level ratio factor. The appraiser believed that the valuation fair market value was $3.2 million as opposed to $4.6 million. And they used an income capitalization approach as opposed to a fair market value, comparable sales approach to get fair market value. And he cited the reasons for the appeal and the value was reduced as we would have expected because of the high rate of vacancy in the shopping center. However, that didn't take into account the fact that the shopping center is basically flex space. They also cited the age of the shopping center. However, it has had some renovations over time, did not take that into account. I participated actively in cross-examining the applicant's appraiser, and I handed up as exhibits the February 14th, 2022 letter and email exchange with their shopping center real estate broker, Technate. The appraiser did not know of the borough's offer or of the counter offer at $950,000 for the bank building. The school district did not conduct any further cross-examination than that. The Board of Assessment Appeals is generally fairly prompt in getting determinations out. The hearings will end in October. And I would expect that we would have a decision by the October meeting. I've generally gotten decisions within a few weeks of appearing at a hearing. So I should have an update for you. At the October council meeting.
I would say as a general rule of thumb, it probably behooves the borough always to appeal or protest against any reduction in a value like that, because it's our fiduciary responsibility. You can't just pick and choose. So it's almost like every single one that comes up, you probably need to at least propose.
Commercial.
commercial.
When you're
Commercial.
talking about larger commercial properties, although with the Reading School District, they will also appeal the higher value R1 type residential properties in Camden Heights, College Heights, and Glennis and Park. But as well as commercial and industrial properties. The school district usually takes the lead, and I would expect that if this would get into further proceedings, that Exeter School District would take the lead. They had an MAI appraiser there with them. So but they did not hand up any type of a report. So if it would be a report, I would assume that they would use this appraiser and would take the lead because the school tax is far more than the borough tax. But yes, when it comes to the larger commercial properties, I would agree with intervening in the appeals, even if you don't actively participate in it.
To be a party to the appeal.
Be a party to it, participate in some degree, and be able to be part of any settlement discussions as well.
And this will actually previously authorize Joan to go to all the commercial.
Right. Yeah.
Right, I mean, there has been an authorization, but this actually, I believe, this is the only commercial property appeal this year.
We didn't have one last. We haven't done that many.
Yeah.
Last year was
Yeah,
the shopping center was the only one.
This almost falls into the same thing with zoning hearing board. You know, if you have things in there, you know, you want to sort of defend your position while they're there and not be present. So that's sort of all the same. My thought. So. All right.
We did that one, we did see when the initial. When the shopping center got the initial one, I don't know if we actually.
I saw that there was a big, I think I knew about it after the fact because I had gotten a memo from a colleague about it, who handles these appeals. I do recall hearing that after the fact, but not before. But this year you got a spreadsheet from the county assessment office. I think all of the municipal managers did. And that was clearly on it. I think that was a clear case of one that you wanted. Smaller commercial uses, the residential use probably.
Yeah, there's always a balance between the cost of setting her versus what we think we're going to get. Sure.
And the one other item I have, an ongoing item, and that is the Pennsylvania American case in the Public Utility Commission. As authorized, I have been participating in the settlement conferences, also submitted Bob's direct testimony. We will be waiving cross-examination of witnesses, but we have put in our position on settlement, because Pennsylvania American has, and the parties have sent the term sheet of proposed settlement. We've sending our position into what we believe is an appropriate rate based on the fact that our rates should be based on treatment costs, not transportation costs, because of borough ownership and maintenance collection system. So I will keep you posted. There's been a settlement conference scheduled for tomorrow. The hearings were actually supposed to begin today, but there have been 2 postponements because the settlement discussions have been productive. So they're all done by telephone. I don't have to leave the office. All done by Microsoft Teams.
And to give you a perspective, there's like 10 lawyers on for the PUC. There's 10 lawyers on for PA American. Then there's like 5 lawyers for, respondents in the city.
Right. I mean, like for example, the Office of Small Business, there's Office of Consumer Advocate, Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement.
They're all turned.
They're all, plus, Exeter Township, who's participating in about the same capacity where I think we're somewhat more active, because of the fact that we're a bulk needed testimonial one, so we're unique that way. And then there are a couple of larger businesses that are
Baker's Brewing, a couple of those like that. High water users and then high school.
Right.
So I'm resolved now that, PUC's I've lost all confidence they're gonna, protect the little guy us. So it's just all gonna go down the road the way.
We've been working, our position is somewhat similar to the office of small business advocate. And I believe their position is similar enough to ours.
But I think part of our position was we can't even see what the rate increase involves because they don't disclose that. So we want the PUC to make them disclose that. So we can go back and, we say, well, we understand why they're asking so much money, but that they don't seem to have a taste for it.
Well, okay.
I don't think the PUC gets a taste for that. Because we're such a small, amount.
I'll get you Pennsylvania Road Historic testimony. That you can see faces in there. And you can also, if you look at the BID, there is a revenue number that they're basically backing. That's the only way to describe what is happening is that there is a revenue number and there's a presumption that water has been subsidizing wastewater, so they're not hospitable to any decrease in wastewater rates.
And I think if I remember correctly, it's like the appeals came in, they go, oh, we have a settlement offer. It was even higher than what they wanted, in the initial thing. So, so it's just very fast.
Yeah, that's all I have unless anyone on council has any questions.
Do we need to take action on your first issue with this liability release?
Just to authorize its use.
Need a motion?
Well, we gotta amend the agenda first.
Oh, no, why would we have to amend the agenda because it's an action item on the screen?
An action item and not listed anywhere in the agenda, so a motion to amend the agenda to act on a release and indemnification for volunteer activity.
I will make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion been moved to amend the agenda to enact on the solicitor's release of waiver for volunteer activities on borough land. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed. Motion passes. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion. Actually, I have one question before.
Yeah.
Why don't we have a second and then discussion?
I'll second. Go ahead. Discussion.
The section where it says agree to limit, I agree to limit my use of such vehicles to that which is associated with my volunteer activities. Has there been that much of an issue up there with the use of motorized vehicles that we have to restrict it to only when they're up there?
Well, that's one of the things I was going to ask about. They ride up there virtually every Sunday.
Okay. Has that?
I certainly, when they're riding, many times they'll find down trees or things like that. So I could visualize their Sunday rides as going through and policing the area for trash or all of that, those types of activities.
I get that, but when the way it reads, the way I read this is if I decide to go up there and ride my four-wheeler and there are no down trees and someone out there, people have taken their trash out with them and I'm just riding along.
I was asked by council to put that in if you don't, if council has decided that maybe.
Well, I mean,
not necessarily.
I don't want to have people go out, anyone from the borough going up there and saying, well, hey, you didn't do any kind of volunteer work, so you shouldn't be up there with your four-wheeler.
Well, I think that would be a position we would take. If we would find someone up there that hadn't signed the waiver, we'd say, clearly, you're not allowed up here because you had never signed the waiver.
Right.
No, I'm saying someone that signed the waiver.
Oh.
Who's up there and is riding along and there's nothing to actually do.
So they're not up there as a volunteer.
Right, they're up there riding,
They're up there riding, but if they see something.
Well, obviously, listen, if there's a wind
That's
down.
what I want to see if people would be in agreement with that interpretation. Otherwise,
I
we
mean,
have a
well,
problem with that.
the wording there, I could maybe if we worded it that, I agree to keep the trails clear of any obstacles I may come across. That way we're not it doesn't read like.
You want
well,
to show an
I can't-
intent, you want an intent
Right.
for their,
Right, that, I can go up there and ride recreationally without having to worry about, oh, if there's nothing to do, am I gonna get jammed up if someone sees me? You know?
I mean, I would be very happy to even
Yeah.
take out the limiting language and say, I agree to indemnify and hold harmless the Borough of St. Lawrence from any injuries or damages associated with no use in that third party. This is no right business.
You know, because we've never, I don't know we've had any issues with the people that have been using the land.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's,
At the same token, I would like to see that the people that are riding up there also are willing to volunteer.
well, I mean,
That if I sign an interest release, I
well,
am.
I don't have, I have no heartburn with that, but to say that the only time you can ride up there is if you're,
Right.
if you're, volunteering.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, what would be your preference for the language?
Yeah,
Well, instead of saying to limit, I would say, I agree to assist with keeping the trails clear and clean.
Okay, well, I mean, I can remove that limiting language. I said, I agree to,
To assist with keeping the trails clear and clean.
and then the next sentence, I agree to indemnify.
And then define hold harmless, yeah, that, the indemnification and hold harmless, I have no heartburn.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have the record thing. Hold on.
Repeat on this. But instead of limiting their use, you say, I agree to assist in keeping the area clear and, the trail clear and clean. Clear of obstacles and clean of litter and debris. While
rather
using,
than limiting my use to
Yeah.
only that.
Okay, clear. Like, litter. And obstacles. And clean and.
it's in their best interest to keep, if there's a branch down, drag it off the side, so.
so now I'm
I mean, we in the second paragraph, a lot of that's already defined.
Okay, let's go through the paragraph and see what council thinks. I further understand that the use of motorized vehicles such as motorcycles, four-wheelers, and dirt bikes has been part of activities occurring on the above referenced municipal land. I agree to assist in keeping trails clear of litter and obstacles and clean for debris. I agree, and then new sentence, I agree to indemnify and hold harmless the Borough of St. Lawrence from any injuries or damages associated with my use and that third party assist motorized vehicles.
So does there have to be an intent to do the volunteer work in order to ride a motorized vehicle?
No, you're just agreeing that if you come across something, you'll
Oh,
take
that
care
you
of
are
it.
going to do it. Okay.
Yes, that you'll agree to, you're not limiting, we're not limiting them to,
So I'm playing the person who doesn't understand, you've got the, sign a waiver. They understand every Sunday they hear, dirt bikes up there, so they ride their own dirt bike up there, but haven't signed, release of liability or anything else. So you're still preventing others from riding dirt bikes up there.
Yeah. That in order to be riding up there, you should have to.
You should have a sign.
Right. Sign.
and that's gonna have to be posted at the entry points.
Right.
By permission.
Yeah, use of these trails by motorized vehicles is by permission only, permission can be obtained at the borough.
Okay, no,
Yeah. And that's the only way we're gonna, let anyone know about this.
Yeah, you have to have.
yeah, it's gotta be posted.
Right.
Right.
Is there any benefit to putting it whenever possible? It's almost like I agree with Dave that there should be something in there, because let's say on Sunday, they're up there riding and maybe Dave goes for a walk. And he's behind him and he's walking past him.
Yeah, well, I would say wherever possible.
Whenever possible.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't have a bag with them or, I'm just saying,
Right.
just encourage,
Yeah.
keeping it in its natural.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
So is there a motion to approve the identification for voluntary activities with the amended language as discussed?
So moved.
Second.
Most of them seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion back. Melissa, are you done?
I am with sample of any further questions.
Hot day. Romero, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate the feedback. Appreciate being me.
You could have zoomed in, we would have taken your report, you know.
I just want to submit the August 2022 Central Berks Police Chief Report for inclusion in native minutes. Our borough remains at the lowest number of official calls for the 4 municipalities that the department serves. End of report.
But we're probably the highest ones with impact to buildings, correct?
Just two.
Great. Hold on.
That was. in terms
Oh, I'm sorry.
in terms of,
Let's start and keep this trend.
As long as they do.
Well, actually, it's easy.
Two for two. Anyway, thank you, Mayor. Any department staff reports, anything from Borough zoning code enforcement officers report?
We issued in the last 2 months, 13 notices of violation. And 11 have been resolved and 2 are in the process of zoning review and permits to resolve their issues. So those were all taken care of. The 1 commercial, 2 commercial were taken care of. The 1 we caught and did just weed removal on the 1 property before it went to settlement and got reimbursed for the cost of it. And the new people have shown up and we're planning to get started on what they want to do, which the road crew saw and informed them that they can't just start.
Certain actions need a permit, building permit.
In this case, the whole property needs land development.
Oh, good.
There's no utilities connected anymore. Parts of it are falling down. So
Great. End of code enforcement,
that's the end of code enforcement.
public works. Roadmaster.
My report, Pat, things of note, next 3 weeks, we're getting our 2 projects, Third Street and Borough and Milling and Pathways on Press. Streets in question are Parky Road, Prospect Street, Levan Street.
Any questions? Moving on, finance, anything new?
Yes. We should be receiving our ARPA money tomorrow. The second amount, and we will be receiving. Let's see, it's tiny, $96,600.14, and the difference is the amount that.
The 300 that they gave.
They're actually just dispersing that to the recipients. $96,600.14 as today, when we received the August disbursement, we have all but 2.3% of the taxes collected in the borough, down to what, 12,000 something. So for cash flow, with what we get, we have exceeded our revenue projections for the. With 3 months to go. We had a very good year of real estate.
Same property gets sold over.
Well, no, there's a whole, we had. Yeah, and our commercial properties sold, the ready real estate sold. Their property, sold. So we had just this month, it was 15,000 in real estate transfer taxes, which would have equaled what we budgeted to take in for this year. So thought the housing market was going to slow down this year, and for St. Lawrence, it has not.
Anything else from manager report? No. I'm gonna circle back, I'm sorry, Road Master, on the sanitary sewer where 36 manholes were pulled and inspected.
Yeah.
Are those areas or lines that were not done by a recent relining, or were done?
There, so some of them are, for the terminal manholes to make sure everything's moving all right. Other ones are a series of ionized we had in the past to see if it's different. Other ones with interconnection points to make sure there's no flow problems, to try to be proactive in the system ahead of time.
Some flow problems that can go on grease. And so we make sure that we are preventive in any of those situations and can make contact if we see any evidence. So as not to cause a backup.
Any other additional reports? Any new emergency management?
The only thing to say, Berks County Dispatch is looking to start another hiring in the class for an October start date. You know, if anyone's looking for a job,
Money.
there's plenty of openings and the application is on the county's website.
Not heard anything to report.
Meetings next week.
Are they held in the new outdoor amphitheater?
Well, it's not gonna be built yet, but
Oh.
they are under, I think, MODA's, it's under contract. to go.
Oh, good.
That's probably the only unanimous vote if the Exeter Township Supervisors cast this year.
Interesting. Recreation, any news? Nope. Planning commission,
They will be meeting this month.
or
Well, with,
any properties coming up, or is it mostly?
it is to, we've had an open land development plan for the area that has, where Diane's Pet Center was, and there has been no action on it for months and months and months, and he's actively trying to sell it. And
Also, so that property owner is coming, or the
No,
property owner?
no, we will be, I would think, discharging. And there's nothing going on, there hasn't been any action.
Does the planning commission want to come into a meeting to say we're
There
not gonna give
is
the
also
project anymore?
wireless facilities, small wireless ordinance to review. There's more than, they haven't met.
I'm just trying to understand what the agenda. is. So now I understand. So it's one property where they're gonna try to say this one's no longer viable. You're gonna talk about the
Small wireless.
wireless stuff, right?
Right, and zoning changes that are on the horizon to get a feel for what planning commission has.
Is there any zoning hearing board information?
Nope.
Okay, old business, table reestablishment of the Exeter Township Fire Advisory Board. I'm assuming nothing new on that. Please just keep that on there for next agenda. New business discussion and motion to adopt ordinance number 451 sewer rental rates.
We did reprint, that was, 3750 and 750.
3750 per quarter, eliminating a base sewer processing amount, you're down and setting 1,000 gallons processing charge of $7.50.
Make a motion to adopt ordinance 451, saying the new sewer rental rates.
I'll second that. There's a motion to adopt ordinance number 451 concerning new sewer rental rates. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passed.
And the first publication is in the folder with the ordinance advertised on August 17th.
And discussion and motion to advertise budget meeting on November 7th at 10 a.m. There has to be a public meeting. Usually the council vice president chairs that meeting.
We advertise it.
We advertise it.
In
Personally,
case
nobody ever shows up, but it has to be advertised.
I'll make a motion to advertise the budget meeting for November 7th at 10 a.m. at St. Lawrence Borough Hall.
Do we have it on webinar too?
no, no.
I'll second it.
Authorize the borough manager to advertise the meeting.
Okay, good, good. Yeah, and, all right, you don't need to do 10 minutes, correct?
No.
I think so. Yeah.
I'll just-
There was a second, I was back, second. So, all those in favor of the motion to advertise for a budget meeting on November 7th at 10 a.m., please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passed.
Yeah, we're sneaking it in before election day. And Dave's time off from work so that we have it so we can pass the budget the first time on that Thursday.
So, in general, we have announcements from public meetings. All public meetings are at the St. Lawrence Borough Hall, council meeting on October 13th at 7:30 p.m. And then there's a planning commission meeting, which will be held on September 28th at 7:30 p.m. Borough Hall will be closed on October 10th and also on November 8th and 11th for holidays. Is there any other items what? Is there any other items?
Oh, yes, there is.
Well, we have to amend the agenda to include this.
Yeah, if they're going to be any deflection in mistake.
Possible. It may or may not. The RFP for fire service allowed for year 5. And we can send a note to them and just a note and ask if they want to extend it. And then council would have to at that time do a resolution.
And this would be effective for next year, the 23rd.
It would be for 2023 at the same millage. And so it's just more informative to say we're going to send them a letter asking if they want to extend, but council's not formally doing it until they respond, and then it will be done by resolution.
Probably with that.
That's more of an information.
Right.
Yes.
Because it's been previously approved by council, we even have that option.
Right.
So it's just a matter of communication.
Yeah. Administrative.
Were there any other agenda items we want to amend the agenda for to discuss or any other items? This time? Motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Second. Motion been moved second to adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed. Okay. Thank you much for your time. Pass that down to the record. Mike Fripp, you been losing some weight?